Good morning, everybody. So, we were playing some more of the wall combo deck that we started playing towards the beginning of the All of E1 season. This is a deck that I really liked the other version too. I think we 3-2'd like all 4 leagues we played with the deck. But I and I think last time I was such a broken record saying it's not a meme, guys. It's not a meme. This deck is good, but this is a deck that I actually like. So this is a wall tribal deck that tries to use the powerful mana generation of Overgrown Battlement and Axebane Guardian in a combination with every single other slightly playable wall in the format to make tons and tons of mana. Tyvar really helps with this game plan, both letting you buy back an Overgrown Battlement, but also untapping these cards, jittering lots of value, card advantage, all that good stuff. And then eventually you win the game with Karn the Great Creator, which can tutor up Staff of Domination, and in combination with Battlement or Axebane Guardian, you make infinite mana. With infinite mana and Staff of Domination, you draw infinite cards, which will eventually find you another Karn to find Walking Ballista to win the game. And so this is a deck I've been liking. However, this version we're probably 11 cards different. So the biggest difference is that I cut the Court of Callings for Collected Companies. Court of Calling is a card that I think is very good in a deck full of walls, obviously, where these cards can convoke pretty easily, especially Wall of Roots, of course. We had one copy of Arcades to court for as a card advantage engine. But the more I played, the more I actually really was not that big a fan of Arcades. I think it's better in the Nassif style shells. They're trying to play a longer and more grindy game, but I think this deck wants to just kind of explode, if that makes sense. And I think because of that, Collected Company, a lot more proactive, a much faster card, also a card advantage engine in a way that Collected Company, that Court of Calling isn't. I think you just want to play the Cocos instead. So that's that. And one other nice thing is that by cutting the one of Arcades, you're just Abzan instead of Abzan splashing blue. So your mana base becomes a lot better. You can afford to play a Swamp into Plains, which makes you more resilient to Blood Moon. And I also think you get to play a good number of Horizon lands in this deck, which is not something that you see me play often in strategies. But I actually think they make a lot of sense in this shell, where one, you are a deck that is very good at playing defense. It is definitely true that a deck full of walls lets you survive longer than a lot of combo strategies, so I think you can afford to take a little bit of extra life loss to your lands, and playing 4 Wall of Omens and 4 Blossoms, these kind of cantrips sometimes make you a little bit more prone to flooding out, so having a little bit of extra flood insurance is definitely really nice. Additionally, in the sideboard, where I think we're 5 or 6 cards different, where in the past I had the sideboard plan of having 4 Ensnaring Bridges, where you could bring in 3 Ensnaring Bridges and still attack through them, with all your creatures having 0 power. I think that plan is fine. It was mostly for Murktide and Hammer, but I think today I want to hedge instead for Titan and Hammer by playing Force of Vigor instead. Titan was just the worst matchup by a lot. Titan was a really hard matchup. Hammer was also really hard. We had the Ensnaring Bridge plan. I think that I want to hedge more so for those 2 matchups rather than Murktide and Hammer, mostly because the Murktide matchup really never felt so bad. Being a combo deck that has it's hard for Ragavan to get through is always a nice dynamic against Murktide. So that is the deck. We can go ahead and start playing some games. Thank you everybody for joining me today. You can come and say hi if you see me at DreamHack Dallas. Oh, awesome, the record tracker is back. Well, no secondary locations of Spikelings. I redacted my offer. I thought it was ever serious. I think this could be ported to Pioneer. Only having Axebane Guardian is pretty tough if you have, only having one of the tribal cards. Also not having the infinite combo, but you could potentially do something. Alright, immediately up against Ragavan here. And immediately Stonewall. The next turn we can go Wall of Roots, Wall of Blossoms, probably. Start trying to ballistic with Drift of Phantasms, main deck Staff of Domination. Yeah, Drift of Phantasms is a card that I sure never want to play. Okay with that getting the counter spell. I don't know. It's like I think Karn is like a much better like tutor target, and you can main deck Staff of Domination, but the thing is like when you have enough mana to go off of Staff of Domination, like you almost always have enough mana to Karn for it too. So Karn being like a lot more flexible, I've definitely liked a lot here. Magician with the 20 months, Seamus with the 10 months. Thank you. Will Surge of Salvation make it to the sideboard of 12 key and Anviltron? Seems pretty good to have a way to fight Force of Vigor. I mean, a 1-mana way to fight Force of Vigor is cool. Splashing white in both of those decks is a nightmare. Very, very difficult to do. Holding up white mana, even more difficult. I think that the best way to fight Force of Vigor for the time being and for the foreseeable future is going to continue to be to just tank it and play through it. It is just, like, not super realistic to expect to have this card line up super well against Force of Vigor is my current impression, especially when it comes at like a very difficult splash. It comes at the cost of having a very difficult splash. But I would love to be wrong, because Force of Vigor is very, very good. Very surprised they put the Consider into the graveyard there. If they have a Spell Snare, I guess I would prefer for them to Spell Snare the Cantrip Wall instead of the Overgrown Battlement. Hopefully this survives. Seamus Soup Nichols, thank you for the 10 months. Thought with the 2 months, I guess that makes sense. There's a card with Solemnity, work with Battles of Modern. It does not. I believe Solemnity specifies like specific card types and battles not included there. Yeah, the Mom PowerPoint video is finally out. I got it up last night. I should have realized it was going to be this tough, but it's like there was so much to talk about, and every single card is also like so wordy. So it took a little bit of time to get done, but it's done. PD 7 months, thank you. Have you heard of the Dan format I've been seeing on Twitter? I played it with Honorog once. Okay, no Delirium is really nice here so that they cannot Unholy Heat my Overgrown Battlement. I am not going to expose my Battlement to a Lightning Bolt, of course. Wits, 12 months, thank you. 1 year of Spike Roost, thank you. Glad you're liking the stream. Glad you're watching the stream. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, lot of options here. Lots of mana. I definitely want to try to go Tyvar into Collected Company. So maybe I'm going to go cast Wall of Omens, cast Tyvar, untap Overgrown Battlement, cast Collected Company, and then the creatures, you know, we could potentially Overgrown Battlement. Oh, hold on, sorry. I need to, now that I've drawn this. No, I don't have enough black mana to play this Overgrown Battlement before tapping this one. I will plus this Tyvar immediately instead of casting this Overgrown Battlement as to not expose it to a Lightning Bolt. We do let our opponent get a Connive off, which could be a little tricky, but I think will ultimately be fine. If my opponent doesn't have any interaction for me this turn, I think we're going to win the game. We have 8 mana, all of it green for now, although if we find an Axebane Guardian, we're going to be fine. I could play this Wall of Blossoms before. The Wall of Blossoms basically costs me 1 mana, because I'm going to get to tap the Overgrown Battlement, and it's mana positive if I hit a Axebane Guardian or Overgrown Battlement, and I guess it's also mana positive if I find a land. We could maybe be going for Karn and Ensnaring Bridge here. I think I'd want to high roll a little bit and go for Karn. Alright, we'll just go for both Wall of Blossoms so we can try to find, again, another Overgrown Battlement effect, which we, in fact, do not find. So, suppose we just go Caretaker into cast Karn. If my opponent wasn't so F6, I would expect them to have Spell Pierce. And this is a spot where we just grab Cityscape Leveler, since we don't know that we're going to be able to resolve our Staff of Domination. Cityscape Leveler with the Unearth and the cast trigger is a good way to get through the counter spells in these kind of spots. Ben with the 7 months. Iron Pipan with the 2 years. Thank you for watching the Dominaria podcast. Owl with the 7. Thank you. Yeah, Caretaker's great. I figured out Invasion of Ixalan is decent in white-green power conduit, digs for white-green power conduit, digs for payoffs, rest of Saga, and accelerate flip by peeling counters. Yeah, but the problem is the flip doesn't do anything, is the problem. Like the power conduit deck, or at least the 8-key deck, if that's what we're talking about, doesn't really care, in my opinion, very much about having a flipped card, you know? Having a 4/3 creature. Naturals through 2 months. I did do a pre-release. I did a 3-round pre-release. I went 2-1. I played a Boros deck, and I ended up switching to a green-blue ramp deck. It was kind of, I think the two builds are kind of tough. But I was like, if I had like one more good Boros 2-drop, that deck would have been much better. Chicken waffles at the 5 months. Thank you. What did I think of Mom in the pre-release? So I actually I only played 3 matches. 3 matches of a limited format is not enough time to make like a good, detailed, informed impression. But in my 3 matches, one thing I really liked about the format is that at first glance it seems really bomb heavy. With like there seemed like there's so many giant creatures in the format. A lot of the rares, a lot of the powerful cards are just giant creatures. But there's also like a lot of like, it's seemingly at least, there's a lot of like cheap premium removal that answers these bombs pretty efficiently, which I think is a good thing. I think that like formats that like feel really good because you cast a lot of bombs, with those bombs being like easily answerable or easily enough answerable. I tend to like that environment a lot. Okay. Thank you, Doc. Do you have a deck tack? Food persists. Cool. Lesser Masticore. Oh boy. Metallic Mimic? Okay, so food persist. Not the kind of persist I was expecting. So we're comboing with Thran Vigil, Sack Outlet, and Lesser Masticore. Presumably, right? Grinding Station, okay. Cool. Let me take this turn. Ooh. Okay, so let's go ahead and Cityscape level the Ledger Shredder, so that my opponent can't get a Connive off here. Interesting. So now we can level the Channeler, and then maybe be a little bit cold to a Murktide, or we can save the Leveler for Murktide. But first, I think I'm just going to go minus and get back Wall of Omens, Cantrip here. See if we draw a payoff. All right, one more look. Yeah, I've been very happy with the Horizon lands. Again, you don't see me play. Okay, I think we win, right? I don't think you don't see me play this. Oh, sorry, we don't have enough mana to quite do the thing. Because we can put the Staff of Domination into play, which is basically as good as winning, but we can't actually do anything other than just gain a life. Fancy, 5 months ago, thank you. My first impression of this deck, I think that you're doing some very cool stuff here. You're doing some very cool stuff. I've started to work on like a Thran Vigil shell in the past, and this looks like a very interesting version. I do think that there's a few things I'd like to change, but like kind of most notably, it's probably incorrect to be playing a Grinding Station deck and not also have like the Through the Breach combo. Like you can play the grinding, you can play this combo, the Thran Visual combo, but like the biggest problem is like this artifact based Grinding Station combo deck is like almost certainly less optimal than Underworld Breach combo, which is fine. But like, you know, whenever I feel like there's something like this, right, some kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, just when I feel like a strategy just like is going to be like a worse version of existing decks, I think it's good to point it out. But I do think that your draft here at least is good. So things I would probably do different is I would almost definitely just play Metallic Mimic as a one of Goblin Engineer target, and I would go -2 Mimics and play the 4th Scrapwork Mutt and the 4th Thran Vigil. I think that that's like a really easy swap. I think you definitely want to play the full 4th Thran Vigil. You could also play less grinding stations, especially if you end up fitting Underworld Breach in the deck, but I could see just wanting to play 3. 4 is fine. But yeah, maybe that's the only changes I would make. +1 Mutt, +1 Vigil, -2 Mimic. I think that the Mimics are fragile enough that you mostly just want them as tutor targets. Okay, so my opponent maybe a little unfamiliar with the combo. We're going to show them today. Okay, and they see how it works, and they graciously concede, saving my finger lots and lots of clicks. Sideboard plan against Murktide is just to run it back. We used to bring in Ensnaring Bridges, but like you saw game 1, it just isn't that tough of a matchup, thankfully. I doubt I'd be playing 1 Fatal Push and 1 Thoughtseize in the sideboard. You have a Springleaf Drum in the sideboard? That should be in the main deck or not at all. Maybe this is like a maybe board. I guess, obviously just 11 card sideboard needs some work. I like the Giganta, obviously. The Emrakul is fine, not super mandatory. Chalice of the Void is kind of, obviously always has tension with Asmo when you're playing in the deck, but I do agree that if you're playing Aether Vial, that the tension between Asmo and Chalice is not as pronounced. Typically, I prefer, like, if you also have Finale, it's like a little bit better too, or like another way to put Asmo to play through Chalice, but I think this is fine. The first copy is also like fine with Goblin Engineer. Sideboard Shadow Spear is fine, but not super necessary because you already have Underworld Cookbook against Burn. Probably would not end up playing this. Could consider playing more Pithing Needles, since Yawgmoth tends to be like the hardest matchup for these food-style decks, especially ones that are just like a slower combo than Yawgmoth itself. Would probably like the first copy of Ensnaring Bridge as a Goblin Engineer target. It's also like pretty good to draw in a lot of matchups. That's something I'd probably recommend. Yeah, not too much is like really jumping out to me as mandatory, I suppose, but you can consider cutting a land for the Springleaf Drum, go down to 18 lands. Your curve's like not very high. Like I was playing 19 lands with like Tyvar and Grist in a deck that was like playing this like similar package, and you have like no 3-drops, so that would probably be fine also. So a lot of loose thoughts. Good luck to you. Deck is awesome. Thinking about Deseju Hazaret, probably 200 power for modern potential for Congregation at Dawn, Deseju Emrakul deck. I probably would not recommend it. I mean, I don't know. I don't hate it because it sets up for itself pretty well, actually. Yeah, I don't hate it. I think we have to play the Overgrown Battlement. The question is, do we play our Caretaker and let them connive? I think the answer is no, mostly because the connive really helps my opponent set up for Delirium for an Unholy Heat on the Battlement, if that makes sense. Just got here, is Coco new? Yeah, Coco's new, hit count 28. We're also playing like different mana base, pretty different sideboards. Wait, could we play Giganta? No, wait, I didn't fail my Giganta check, did I? Fuck. We lose a post board to Force. We should definitely have it. We should definitely have it. Okay, yeah, I forgot to do the Giganta check. Although I don't actually know what I'm even cutting for it. I could go back to the bridge plan with Giganta too. I don't know. Giganta's like about as bad as it ever is on this deck. That just like doesn't care that much about attacking. But we should still play it. It's just so free. Yeah. Did they get a swag Giganta yet? No, I haven't like picked up any new cards besides I guess what was in my pre-release pool. So I think I want to leave black mana up for Tyvar, although it's like not super likely that we draw one. Opponent has a Spell Pierce in the yard, so hopefully they don't have another in the hand. We'll see. Oh, fuck. 28 hits, huh? Oh, Collected Company, why do you do this to me? When does mom release a Moto? I think Wednesday. We'll see, we'll see. Opinion on Hawker didn't appear in the video. Yeah, I mean, if it didn't appear in the video, it's not a card that I think has like enough potential. I like that card in general, like as far as like me being a fan of cards goes. The card is very cool, but I don't think it makes the cut. Yeah, if Wall of Denial had 9 toughness, I'd play it because it could block Murktide. Or Cyber Card's the only thing that's new. No, it's a big update. The mana base is like drastically different. We're playing Coco over Court of Calling, and the sideboard is pretty different too. What do you think about Gemstone Caverns? You could play one over like the 3rd Horizon land. I've been really liking the Horizon lands though. So we're 1 mana short of Karn for Ensnaring Bridge. I guess I could have played around Spell Pierce. Oh no, I can't play around Spell Pierce because I'm just dead if they have it. New decks found with mom cards. Well, I made a video talking about mom cards that I like. It's up on the YouTube channel, but for today, I just want to, we can't play with them yet, so we got to focus on the old stuff for now. How's Amulet Titan doing in 2023? I mean, solid. Good deck. Do you like Nganjo in this deck? Like the white channel land? No, not really. Okay, dead to any spell connived away. What advice would I give to someone who is struggling to enjoy competitive play? Well, it's hard to say, right? But as you have to identify what it is you're not enjoying about it and figure out, is it the format you don't like? Is it just competitive play itself? Is it the deck you're playing? And if none of those problems are fixable, that's fine, but gotta identify the problem, fix the problem. Well, we can blame that loss on Collected Company hating us even though we have 28 hits. CJ, 6 months, thank you. Seemed okay to block and then kill their creature, but I understand not wanting it. I don't know. It's just the problem is the mana, right? Like you don't want almost any cards that don't tap for green. Like we do have a Plains for Blood Moon, and it's fetchable, but it's just mostly that it's like just not a good color. But it wouldn't be that bad to play, right? But also, like, if you're blocking something, a lot of times that's just how you're answering it, right? You're just blocking it. Okay, gotta keep this. Does Coco feel born to lose, like how I've seen Greasefang described in Pioneer? That's like I've never seen a deck described as born to lose before, or like a. I even like kind of wonder what that means, but I don't know that I would say that it does feel that way. Guess maybe I should have played Bulwark first because of Spell Snare. Goldfish Crew highlighted Fairy Mastermind Pelucranos for Modern. I almost talked about Pelucranos for Modern. I think it could be like a surprise. I ended up talking about like 40-something cards and like I didn't feel like saying, oh, well, I used to play Stompy decks and Pelucranos would be awesome there. But yeah, Pelucranos might actually be a card you register at some point. Yeah, I don't think that Fairy Mastermind is a card that it is going to be good at all in Modern, but I do think it has potentially some legacy implications. But I don't like the one of the biggest problems is like there just like aren't card draw spells that Fairy Mastermind beats in Modern. Like all the card draw spells in Modern are like Expressive Iteration or the best Expressive Iteration Consider, which I'll just kind of get around Mastermind pretty well. Visiting the way Corey builds Shadow with a bunch of Fables and no Drown. I have seen it. I'm not a huge fan, but Death Shadow players, myself included, we're all just big divas. We like to build our decks the way we like them and no other way. I've already talked about the 4 Force of Vigor on the side. Yep. I think that Titan is your worst matchup, and like Hammer is also tough. And so previously we were playing Ensnaring Bridge for Murktide and Hammer, and I think that Force of Vigor for Murktide and for Hammer and Titan mostly, while also having a lot of splash damage, is like the sideboard card I want to play instead. Hype for Bobo and Flibble Flip. I think it could be a sleeper. Is Bobo and Flibble Flip the green red? No, the channel one. Can't remember all the names. Any merit to bashing for 8 there, making it come to the board? I think there's merit, but I think that it's better to like Coco into untap and hit for a lot, if that makes sense. Teamer Mythic. Teamer discarding lands. Can someone exclamation point card it? I can't remember the text exactly. Yeah, but I mean, there's always something that like, there's always a few things that like when I do these videos, I either like miss or like some things like Pelucranos was a card I thought about talking about. I didn't really know where to put it. I don't think that it's going to be very good. Just kind of like dismissed it, but it is a card I could see myself registering maybe one day. Okay, so put it deep in the tank, huh? Okay, 5 mana, ETB or attacks, draw a card, then discard any number of land cards. When you discard... Stupid... Oh, because that's gone. Spell Pierce. When you discard one or more cards this way, deals twice that much damage to a creature. How... I feel like I haven't even read this card. Deck tech from In the Mage, plus like a child. Happy to take a look. Lefty of the 12 months. Is that not an EDH card? Yeah, I think I just hit my opponent with the walls. Don't even play the Axebane Guardian here, weirdly enough. Just back him for 12. ETB attack, draw a card, then you may discard any number of land cards. When you discard one or more cards this way, deals twice that much damage to any creature put on top. Interesting. I feel like I missed like the twice as much damage. There's like all these cards have so much tax. Yeah, if I had, I may have put that on the, oh, whoops. I may have put that on in some section. If I had realized. Explosives on 1. 1, 2, 3, so they are 2 for 3ing themselves. They also need to do this main phase, otherwise they're just dead. So it would be a great turn to draw something impactful. Hard to deny that Karn the Great Creator is impactful. I suppose I'm supposed to get mana down first. Yeah, assuming this is the min deck tech, I will get to this I think after this match. I think you might be incorrect about Halo Forger because of an Earth. That is a great point about Halo Forger. I would love to be wrong. I would love to be wrong about Halo Forger, but I think I just got burned so hard by Arcane Proxy. All right, look how cute Athena is here today. Athena. Oh no, she was just making a face, and now she's just slumping. Yeah, but I would, I always love to be wrong about the cool cards. All right, they exiled Canal, but they're not playing it, so that's a counter spell up if I've ever seen one. So it looks like we get to bait with Tyvar. Dina. I don't think we don't get to win the game this turn. We have, but we can just put Staff of Domination into play and still have Karn. Isn't proxy worse than Forger because it's colorless? Colorless is an advantage. Wait, what? I don't know. Proxy may be worse than... Proxy and Forger have their own strengths and weaknesses. The biggest one to Proxy is that you can cast 1 and 2 mana spells effectively. But you know, needing the cast trigger is like much tougher when you compare it to Halo Forger. I would love to be wrong about Forger. Unearth is like the best point I've heard towards or about that card, but I still think that those type of decks, like put a suspend spell in the yard, flash it back with like Finale or Arcane Proxy, have just really been burned by them in the past. Ooh, Shielded Rogues looks cool. Got some thoughts. Okay, again, I'll get to the deck in between rounds here. Over Aether Gust and the sideboard of Mono Blue Spirits. I mean, in the context of Pioneer, that might be fine. I don't know enough about Pioneer to speak to it, I think. Okay, so they heat my Axebane Guardian. They leave me with Karn, a lot of mana, and a staff. 5 cards in their hand. They're, you know, building up their mana here. Another Karn. This is a very weird draw. Could Chalice on 1. I'm 2 mana short of Cityscape leveling anything. I think that Chalice on 1 into just play a second Karn makes a lot of sense to me this turn. Attack with Staff? No, I'm not going to expose the Staff to Burn Spell. I do think I'm going to get Ensnaring Bridge here. Then like we can get like sit behind the Staff with the bridge. I know we've been talking a lot about like, you know, new cards and deck techs during this match, but like look at like the amount of permission we fought through this game and game 1. It's like I've always been like just so impressed by like the amount of fight the Wall deck has. We missed Bulwark Lethal. I don't have a Bulwark in the sideboard anymore. It's just in the main deck now. I don't have one. I don't have one I can grab. Do you feel under pressure to constantly come up with new deck ideas? Yeah, of course. Just like, you know, a lot of people are pressured to perform at their jobs. Norns, 10 months, thank you. Cool. It does seem to be F6. I let them connive if I cast the Tyvar, which I don't love. I think I'm just gonna chill. I don't want to walk into Spell Pierce. I don't want to let them connive when they don't seemingly have anything relevant. Lumbering, 13 months. Following Steve with the 8 months. Thank you. Sorry for so long at the deck tech, but I don't love. I'm trying to get like just one a match if possible. Classic. Also, like I don't know. This has been like lately. Like the first match of the stream is like always like 40+ minutes. It's so wild. Yogurt, 60 months. Thank you. Another Ledger Shredder. 2 cards in hand. Maybe a Murktide here. It's really good to see the Odawara in play. Oh, I should not have 6 because I can gain life, yeah. Which food deck do you think is better position? Do you plan on adding something for Mom to any food deck? Maybe on the adding something. I don't know. I think it's very close between like the Sultai Time Sieve with Fate Stitcher and the green-red one. I also liked the like recommission Ranger Captain one, but I've only played like 3 leagues, but I think I 4-1'd all 3 of them. Tyvar get back Axebane Battlement's infinite mana. Well, the problem is I don't have Battlements in the yard, and Tyvar can't get back Axebane. If Tyvar could get back Axebane, oh baby, this deck would be nuts. Is this a prison deck? Kinda. So I think I'm supposed to Overgrown Battlement first here. this is a card they should counter. I know I'm letting my opponent double connive here, but what I like about this is they only have one card in their hand, and if they can keep an answer to the bridge, but they die if they do, or they can keep an answer to Overgrown Battlement. If they kill the Battlement, then I can just Tyvar it back and win. And so they have to counter the Tyvar, and that's their last card, and they get a Surveil, but then we're untapping and winning. So like this like has to be a counter spell. Very, very interesting. Because I can now go off at instant speed. I do think I really just want another defender in play here to make the clicking easier. Definitely Bulwark also. You shouldn't draw infinite. Yeah, this is Magic Online, no worries about that. Yeah, I do think that we're gonna go... In my instep, I need to gain infinite life, but the problem is... It's just, like... Gonna take way too long. So maybe I just need to, like, tap their whole team. Yeah, I think I just actually need to not do this now. The problem is if they have a burn spell as their like Unholy Heat as their last card, then they get to respond to all this, and it's just such a headache. Okay, in paper the game is over. In paper I have infinite life. Oh, I meant to untap the staff again. Sorry, it's okay. I don't need the extra mana necessarily. I guess I can also like I don't need to tap their team. Yeah, I don't need to tap their team. So we just had the bridge. I could just pass. Just draw 7. The problem with drawing 7 is I have Ensnaring Bridge in play, so it's like I'm just like maybe dying if I draw 7. So I don't want to do it on my turn. Did I try to bring Slight Dramatic Entrance deck? I've been working on it. I've been trying to hammer it out. So far it doesn't look as good as the shell I had before. You can respond to heat. Yeah, which is my new plan. Just like be able to respond to heat here. Again, in paper, we'd have infinite life, and with me having this card advantage or library advantage over my opponent, where the game just ends. Why is it put on 3 minutes? Murktide players have super big brains, and they just have to think for 2 minutes on every decision when they have one card in their hand and they're on their upkeep. No, they're just Murktide players got the biggest brains, so they have to think for every. Okay, they did it. Also, like, I don't know how you tank this long on the Unholy Heat when. How do you tank this long on the Unholy Heat when you're on 3 minutes? It doesn't make any sense. Okay, so now we have to do 1,000,000 clicks. It's going to take a while, but we are going to tap my opponent's team, and we're going to draw probably 7 cards. Also, if my opponent does an F6 here, they are just going to time out. Peepaw, 17 months ago, thank you. I figured out Tyvar Reanimator includes Giver of Runes cards, but nuts. I do like Giver of Runes in the Tyvar shells. Okay. Thank you, opponent. Thank you, opponent. But I don't know, like look at the amount of interaction that we were able to play through this game, and also game 1 too. I'm just a big believer of this deck. For someone that doesn't play much Pioneer anymore, I could be totally wrong again because I don't play a lot of Pioneer, but I'm not like a super high on Children's Edict. It's probably a fine card overall. March of Swirling Mist is a card I would never put in a sideboard. I would suppose that this is like your anti-Supreme Verdict card, but I think that like I would much rather have like another Jace Perfected Mind against like the Supreme Verdict decks or something. More discard effects. Not really ever going to want to play March of Swirling Mist in a sideboard. Other than that, I don't play enough Pioneer these days to give you too much feedback on the sideboard other than March of Swirling Mist lost in the sauce. But yeah, again, for the most part, like I think for these new cards, I mostly recommend not sweating it too much. I mostly recommend trying to play a lot of the new cards and playtest them. Okay. I will play my Swamp here, even if it gives my opponent better information. I think not taking the damage is correct. My opponent did reveal Gigantha, so they are likely Grixis Shadow, which is a deck I've been seeing more and more of lately, which I'm excited about. It's a deck that I've always been a big fan of, although this is not that deck. They are a... Oh, they're the Goryo's deck. Very cool. Well, we'll see if we get Emrakul next turn. Okay, let me play this turn. Flooding out of... Oh my gosh, no! Fucking Nurturing Peatland. Horrible to not get the Battlement down this turn. If I end up not drawing a payoff, it doesn't actually cost me much, but that feels awful. I think Trading Post could ever possibly be playable in Modern. I mean, possibly, but it would be like a super fringe Karn the Great Creator target and nothing more. Yeah, the real reason not to play them is the misclicks. And we would have drawn Karn this turn. Devastating. Absolutely devastating. I think we would just win with Karn like shutting off their cookbook plan. And it's okay. We're living in this timeline now. We're still in very good shape. We're going to get the Karn down before the Profane Tutor comes down. We're doing alright, but sad misclick on the Peatland for sure. Thank you, Penguin. Yeah, glad you watched the PowerPoint video. They're really rewarding to do. This one took forever, though. I was trying to get my thoughts out as quickly as possible. Obviously, I do some rambling, but man, this was a tough one to do. Wouldn't you have drawn Karn? Wouldn't have drawn Karn because you wouldn't have sacked Peatland. No, I would have sacked Peatland on this turn. This turn I would have sacked the Peatland. Although maybe I wouldn't have had enough mana. Thank you, Tashi. Yeah, I really like doing the PowerPoint videos. Hopefully the next set is not as wordy, though. This one was so wordy. Okay, we dodged Thoughtseize, we dodged Asmo, which is exactly what we needed to do there. So we're going to cast Karn, which does just kind of win the game by itself. But do we have enough mana to Karn for Staff of Domination and untap Overgrown Battlement? 5 defenders is like the prerequisite number of defenders. We have, I think, exactly enough, right? 1, 2, 3 plus 4 more. Yeah, we're one ahead. So despite our rough misclick, we get the W, and we get to sight in, I think, the full play set of Force of Vigors. What's up?
I get steroids.
Esther's been sick for like 2 weeks.
It's not giving me steroids.
You'll be more powerful than you've ever been.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I think we're going to go down a Coco and then down 3 Bulwarks, be 25 hits, which is not ideal. I think we're not really much on the Bulwark plan in this matchup. Yeah, Esther's been coughing like non-stop for 2 weeks. I finally convinced her to talk to a doctor. Average Joe, 26 months, thank you. Yeah, I know the coughing's like been super audible in the background. There she goes. Oh, there she goes. We could. I don't think we're supposed to force there, even though we do die to Goryo's Vengeance this turn if they have it. Karn shuts off this in a turn. I think I'm just going to prioritize mana over the cantrip. Yeah, my opponent didn't have the Goryo's Vengeance last turn. I'm not going to just fire off the Force. I mean, firing off an upkeep also only plays around like the top deck anyways. Chalice on 0 seems pretty good for Karn here, since turning off Profane Tutor does feel like a priority. I think we might as well also play Wall first, let's hold the Walls for a green card. Colin, 28 months, thank you. So now maybe I need to grab Tormod's Crypt. What do they tutor? They probably just tutor like Urza Saga if they resolve it. So get the Tormod's Crypt. Athena is so cute. I love when she hangs out. During the stream, she's been doing it more ever since Esther went back to work. They like immediately grabbed a card off of Profane Tutor. I don't know what it is. Maybe Needle. Maybe they'll get Needle here. Bone Shards. Okay, well, fair enough. Cookbook back online. We still have the Force of Vigor. I should be able to play Battlement and still have Force up because of the Wall of Roots. Got some time to draw payoff. This matchup definitely seems really, really good. Is there a dog cam? I had one for Lucy because she sits like in this chair. Athena is a little too big for the chair. So she sits in, she has her own dog bed over here. And then Lucy is the collage. Lucy has her little own chair here. But when I did the Every Play stream, I took the Lucy cam so I could set up an extra camera there, and I just haven't set it up again. But she's there. Okay, so I'm supposed to activate one Battlement, still have Hardcast Force up over there. Lately, Athena's been with me during the day, and Lucy's been with Esther. The sign. Cool that Dume got his sign too. Discards Gigantha, so they probably drew an Asmo. So I'm going to try to just Force of Vigor both cookbooks. And then they'll kill my Overgrown Battlement, which is fine because I have the Axebane Guardian. Yeah, this is like one of the coolest decks that I think emerged from All Will Be One. Just feels so satisfying. Playing a pile of walls in Modern. Doom's Dole and Doler emotes. I don't think so, no. I haven't been watching as much Twitch as I usually do lately. Was binging Succession for for a few weeks. Finally caught up. Consider crashing Drawbridge in the walls. Yeah, I did. There was a problem with it. I can't remember. Maybe it was just power level. I don't know. I'm trying to remember. There was some reason I didn't include it. It doesn't have Defender, right? Is that it? Or maybe I'm confusing with a different wall. Alright, Staff of Domination. It does have Defender. Okay, I can't remember what it was that I didn't like about that one. But we are 2-0 today. New matchup. With a pretty borderline hand. I think I'm gonna mulligan this. We don't have our like good battlements. Could play it in the door deck. Yeah, it's probably like a little win more. It's an interesting card though. Because like all your payoffs kind of cost Wooburg anyways, except for Emrakul. Yeah, I know it works with Lotus. So let it strand go, huh? We're gonna need to find a payoff. Hopefully our battlement resolves. Or survives. So funny, I've been playing for like 10 years and like there's still just like crazy cards that are not in my mental database. Okay, my opponent pitches Flamekin Harbinger to Fury. Fisted Cheat Tracks? I don't know. There's a lot of ways to fit Cheetah Tracks into play. Dramatic Entrance is like definitely better because it's just like 5 mana instead of 8 over 2 turns. Oh, gross. And they're playing the build I was playing. This is the good build. Or the build I was liking, at least. Okay, well, we do find another battlement, which is definitely very important here. Still gonna need another payoff. I know about Lost in the Woods. That's an Innistrad card. All Innistrad cards are permanently etched into my brain. Yeah, we'll add Giganta for the next league. I can't believe I missed it. Let me see if I can rent it now, actually. Not sure exactly. I think we might get the 4th Force. We might get like the Liquimetal Coating. You just like never get coating. But it's like as soon as you cut it. As soon as you cut a Karn target, that's when you need it. They have Ephemerate? Main deck Lay Down Arms. Okay, that was something I had in my sideboard. Interesting. Any Fey deck viable in Modern? Fairies is not very good. There's some players who still play it. But I do think that if we can ever just get like another good Fairy tribal payoff like Spellstutter Sprite, then maybe one day. Probably gonna have to go to game 2 in what seems like a poor matchup. Invasion on Segovia. I know I made a whole video about all these cards yesterday. You'd think I'd remember the names of everything. I don't quite remember the names for everything, so if you could refresh my memory. There's a lot of cards to go through. Okay, so we got our Giganta for next league, but we're still playing this one. Giganta's not so good that we're dropping it 2-0. And I do think we're just running it back. And I got a pretty tough matchup. This version with like brought back, especially for extra ways to scam, Fury and Solitude is extra bad. Surprised you don't own a copy of Giganta. I don't own almost any card on Magic Online. I use rental service. Although maybe I'll buy the new art. Buy these when they're available. Not available yet. Got the explosives. I feel like especially with the Force, it's like not as needed. It's like you almost always get Bridge over it anyways. Bridge or like Haywire Mite. House again in 7 months. I think I want to keep the 4 Force for now. Although you do lose Giganta when you bring in the Forces. So you could be back on just the Ensnaring Bridge plan. But I think that like Titan is like popular enough and a bad enough matchup that you want to play the Forces instead. House 7 months. Serialized Giganta 69. I mean, do you have $1 million for that? We can keep this somewhat reluctantly, I think. We do have lands and we have spells. Too bad we don't have a Torpor Orb, although you don't really want that in this shell. You can maybe play it if Elementals become more popular. Looking to find lands. Looking to find love. Yeah, number 80 Yoran would be cool, for sure. Did I try to watch Love is Blind last night? No, but I heard that there was stuff going on. I'm really happy to see my... I love the brought back Elementals deck. I'm happy to see people playing it. Although, definitely tough for us here. What was going on? I heard that it was a live stream and that it was a shit show or something. Torpor Orb is better in our wall deck. I mean, it only turns off 8 of your cards, but yeah, that is why we're not playing it. I would concede to an Ephemerate here. It didn't work or started an hour late? Big drama. As someone that's a regular Happy Hob watcher, hour late streams are just normal to me. Yeah, me and Esther watched a good amount of like the first couple seasons of Love is Blind. We got pretty bored in the third one. All right, maybe concede with no land. Oh no, they could be super flooded too. Yeah, it would have been a little bit of an early concession. Watching Hob fail in jet ski the other night was heartbreaking. Oh, I missed that. I was watching yesterday. He's getting really close. He'll get it any day. I didn't realize he got to the last split. Cards are in chest tomorrow? Oh no, fuck. I was planning on taking the day off to... Maybe I can still take the day off to deck build, because I still won't be able to get my hands on anything. I guess I could try to deck build tonight, but I was planning on doing a draft with some friends to learn the sealed format for Mom, so that I can, because the PTQs in Minneapolis are sealed. Oh, brutal. Dead to lands, dead to spells. Not the best place to be. We'll play the cards eventually. It'll be fine. Isn't there a sealed? Isn't one sealed, one pioneer? I'm pretty sure they're both sealed, but I need to double check, I guess. This deck really seems to do well when you play it. You haven't played a live event. What's holding it back? Mostly I don't play very many live events, I guess. You only get to play one deck in a tournament, and okay, we're on the draw with a mulligan to 6. We do technically have 2 mana sources. I think I'm gonna have to keep this on 6. What are the cards I'd love to play first? I mean, if you watch the YouTube video, all the things in my standout section are like number 1. Honestly, like the card I'm like, weirdly enough, like this was not something I kind of expected to be. Okay, they're a Gigantodek, probably Prowess. The card I'm probably most excited to like cast and evaluate is Invasion of Alara. Invasion of Alara, it just has so much freaking text on it. They should have attacked. I would have probably not blocked, respecting mutagenic growth. Yeah, Invasion of Alara is just like it has so much text on it. It has so much text on it. It just does so much. I'm very excited for that one. Show the Demigod deck again, please. You could rewind the VOD. This is an old, like, a very old brew, but the biggest, like, I just hate how, like, fragile these, like, mono black graveyard focused decks are. To graveyard hate, you just, like, auto lose to any amount of it because you can't defeat it. Can definitely block it here, since I would want them to use resources to kill this wall and not on my Axebane Guardian if possible. But we'll play a Guardian and Bulwark. You will live. Axebane Guardian, you're going to live. It's too soon to say goodbye. Yes, aspiring spike. Forbid me now to die. I'll obey. I will try. You know, this is another matchup where, damn. This is, oh, they don't have Delirium right now. Okay, now they do. This is another matchup where the bridges are better than the forces.
You know what's funny? When we were watching Les Mis, I was like, wait, they haven't done that part. He hasn't done that part where you keep saying, forbid me now to die. And I'm like, and then it was right at that part.
Is it at the end?
Yeah, at the end. I was like, it hasn't happened. He's like,
spoilers for Les Mis, everybody.
And he tried to trick me saying it already happened. And then,
2
seconds later it happened. I was like,
I don't know how to listen. I always try to unspoil things for her if she's thinking about it.
Yeah, look at Athena. Cheetah.
I know, yeah. Is Les Mis good? I love Les Mis. I'm a big fan. Musicals are like, they're like big commitments, though. You know what I mean? It's like, it's hard to like just get into a musical, you know?
I need to show him Chicago. You've never seen Chicago, huh? Chicago? Chicago? Okay, for some reason it was like my childhood favorite musical, and now looking back on it, I'm like, that's not a very appropriate musical for a child, but it was great. So
what's the deal?
He had it coming. He had it coming. He had it coming all along.
You know, recommending somebody get into a musical is like,
and if you'd seen it, I bet you would have done the same.
It's like recommending they get into like Warhammer 40k. It's just like, you want something to like consume your life for an unforeseeable amount of years.
Oh, Jesus Christ Superstar is a good one too. I've
seen bits of that.
I always loved the
What is my opponent playing?
I don't know what's.
Are they just Fair Breach? They're definitely not Prowess. I guess they're just Fair Breach. Well, we're dead next turn. We have no outs. Alright, so let's just concede. If we could have like sacked the Peatland, maybe we could have gone Tyvar into Battlement into Peatland into something, but I don't think so.
I'm here for the musicals.
I know. Esther always loves to like say something and then just read chat for 2 minutes off stream.
Mm-hmm. I'm like right here over his shoulders. Just right here. So. What is my favorite?
Is Pain's Reward possible? Maybe Nourishing Shoal. There are so many cards today that people are talking that I just don't know. I'm like just the worst full-time brewer. I don't know any card name. Each player may bid life, start a bid with any number, in turn order. Okay, that card is definitely not modern legal, right? And like all of these like suggestions, I'm like, there's no way that that's a modern legal card. That one for sure, though, right? That one like for sure is not legal. Damn it! I've guessed wrong like every single time. You start the bid any number. In turn order, each player may top bid. The bidding ends if high bid stands. The high bidder loses life equal to the high bid and draws 4 cards. You only get to draw 4 cards. So you Nourishing Shoal, and then you play a 3-drop, and your big payoff is drawing 4 cards. You can draw 3 cards for 3 mana. You could just play Painful Truths. You could just normally draw cards. For 3 mana. You don't have to Nourishing Shoal. So funny. Okay. So can I go, so I can go Wall of Roots. Wall of Roots. Tyvar plus untap the wall. Axebane Omens. See what we draw off the Wall of Omens. Might as well float white because we draw another one. Woman's Blossom. Into not much. Hopefully they can't kill my Tyvar. Although, you know, we're just catching it in next turn. Mostly just need to find a payoff. I feel like the theme of today's stream is chat suggesting cards I've never ever seen before. Stuck on Legends decks, have we done one in Modern? Plaza of Heroes is nuts. Haven't, but... What's the 2-drop that lets Legends tap for a mana? That card's pretty cool. Yeah, so they have to discard 2 unique card types to kill my Tyvar here. Arcades. We had Arcades in the first build, but we ended up cutting like the core Arcades package for just Cocos. Okay, they do have Delirium, Tyvar down, but if we can draw Karn, Bulwark, Collected Company, cantrips into these cards, we're in good shape. Or not Bulwark. Is it? The 1-mana colorless defender creature. I think that's got to be like immediate lethal, right? Probably. Oh, wow. They are ignoring Tyvar. Okay, so I might want to plus Tyvar to untap if I like hit enough cantrips in a row. So let me just cast this. YOLO. Bulwark, let's go. Don't ignore the Tyvar, y'all. So this is 5 activations. I have 7 creatures here. Right, I have 7. So it's better to attack with these 6. Imagine not killing Tyvar. I think this is lethal. They block these 2, and then they take, 15. You need to play the 4th copy of this in the main deck. It's really nice, just lowering the curve, adding the number of payoffs. It's so weird that this is just like 1 mana win the game. I mean, it's a lot of mana to win the game, but it's a 1-drop that wins the game. Agree with your version of Halo Forger. I was wondering if it could be a good sideboard card against Cascade. No, it's like if you want to sideboard, if you're in a blue deck that wants to sideboard against Cascade, you should be playing instead counterspells. Especially because like this kind of effect is like not as good against I guess Glimpse. It's actually okay against Living End. Yeah, they're just like better sideboard cards. Hatching Plans of Boseiju. You can't Boseiju your own permanent. I know what Hatching Plans does. I once brewed around it with Monastery Mentor and the 0 mana artifact sack outlet, Claw of Gix. So it's like a 0-drop for Mentor, then you sack your Hatching Plans. And then that's about it. That was like way before us. Yeah, that was years and years ago though. What do you think of the new Omnath? Well, I do talk about it in my YouTube video, but I talk about it being not very good. Like Omnath has a lot of text on it. Omnath has a lot of text, but what it actually says is this is a 4-mana 4/4 that causes you to lose 2 life when you cast it, and at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you draw a card. I think you're almost never like revealing like there are not very many cards that meet the restriction of getting the mana ability from this card, and like floating the black mana is also not that relevant in these black decks either. And it is I just mostly don't think it's the kind of card that is going to see any play in Modern. It mostly just says like if you untap with it, you get to draw a card every single turn. But like it's just not a. Phyrexian arenas aren't very good, and this is not a very good version of it. If it drew a card when it entered, or on the turn you played it, it would be a lot better. Yeah, a good commander for sure. Definitely designed to be a commander card. Could win here, yeah. Not quite, just going to play my Axebane. I don't think I want to play the Tyvar out here since it is just dying for sure. Tons and tons of mana, need to pay off. I've been really happy with the Horizon lands of this deck. Not that we have any here, but they definitely felt really nice. Bobo and Full Flip. Yeah, I don't hate Bobo and Full Flip. They are 5 mana though. But there's some cool 5 mana creatures in the set. I guess we're going to draw Karn, Bulwark, Collected Company, Tyvar into Bulwark. Also probably is a win, just like last game. My opponent is again ignoring Axebane Guardian and just bolting my face. I guess if they have another bolt, this is a 2-turn clock. So that's maybe fine. Yeah, I guess I just have a million mana anyways. For Brewed with Enduring Ideal. Enduring Ideal, I think, is my least favorite. Like, so like there are cards I really hate because they're good, and then there are cards that I really dislike because they are just so bad. And I think Enduring Ideal is like my number one. Yeah, Enduring Ideal is like I read this text as 7 mana lose the game most of the time. 7 mana. Oh, sorry, I'm thinning here. I should have fetched first because I opened myself up to bold. We find nothing. We're not dead on board though. Not that I'm bored. Yeah, but I do read that card. Oh, they did have the bolt. Okay, so we fall the 2/2, unfortunately. So we can get the 3/2. I don't know. I hate Enduring Ideal. It's just like it's been 7 mana on a spell to just immediately lose the game. I hate it so much. Oh, I really want to keep this. I would probably keep on the draw. I think on the play I have to send it back. And this hand is much better. I think that Enduring Ideal, like back when I used to do donation decks, Enduring Ideal was like the only card that I would just, or one of the only cards that I would just like straight up perma-veto. So I guess I play Wall of Blossoms. So I can feel a bit more comfortable blocking. Then maybe next turn I can go Roots into Battlement. We'll see, we'll see. Is Enchantress just a better version of Enduring Ideal? Any deck is better than Enduring Ideal. Enduring Ideal is so awful. And like, one thing about Enduring Ideal, it doesn't even feel good to cast. It like literally doesn't even feel good to cast. Ooh, oh, they're Heliod? Thank Cloth if someone is playing the Heliod deck. I wanted that land. Oh, we found another Peatland anyways. Well, thank you, deck. Yeah, this looks like an old list of mine. It's Heliod, Splashing Red 4, Ragavan, and a few sideboard cards. Ragavan is so weirdly good at the deck because you have like cheap removal, you have Giver of Runes, and then you also have like ways to pump it with Luminarch, Aspirant, and your fetch lands for Idyllic Range. Why don't Mite sack the Ranger Captain? We'll probably see them get Ballista. They get a second Ragavan? Okay, their build is definitely different from mine. I'm glad that I can Tyvar back this Overgrown Battlement. This is fine. I love that their last card is Ragavan instead of anything else here. I think that's got to be a misplay. Glad they can't cast the Karn. We definitely have lights to have Karn here. Oh my gosh, that's 2 times in a row. Yeah, I know their last card is just a monkey. Oh no, they pitched it. Oh, they pitched it to Fury. Sorry, they pitched it to Fury. Never mind. That was a good grab then. I missed that they pitched it. Has Doom Foretold seen any modern played? I don't think so. I haven't seen the card in action too much outside of Pioneer Standard. But even in those formats, I was never really crazy about it. Okay, interesting. So yeah, their list is if this is Heliod, which I would assume it is with this all plains mana base. Okay, I guess we're no longer assuming that. No way! The 2 cards they drew off the first Spyro were Solitude white card? That's insane! What's my constructor rating on Mono? It's 69. That's so weird, right? That's ridiculous, though. Seraph, 12 months, thank you. That's wild. They get to rebound again. 3 new cards. Discard a land. Another Spyro. Discard another Spyro. What are they? I would think that they're Heliod with like an all planes mana base plus Ranger Captain, but I guess not. I guess not. Big draw step. 1 mana wall would be weird, or like yeah, 1 or 2 mana wall is really what we want to see. Right. Oh wow, Coco's really, really good here. Winning this game anyways would be really cool. We haven't actually drawn Coco very much today. I think we've only cast 2 copies. There, Winota! Yes! There, Winota! Oh man, I really hope that they come into chat, because I've been working on a deck like this, and I've been having a hard time striking a good balance of creatures here. Very cool. Yeah, so like I've been working on this like all last week. I haven't like given up, but I kind of want to come back to it with the new Hazoret card. Okay, these are not. I had other. I don't know. I have Boros drafts. I think they're probably in the Boros section. I was trying to like play it with like a lot of the white pitch cards, although. Oh no, another Ranger Captain is huge here. Hitting Ranger Captain is so nice because you just get to like time walk your opponent a lot of the time, like they will here. Okay, so we have a lot of blockers, but we are getting time walked again. God.com, 28 months, thank you. Five cards, or 5 life points cards. Ugh. They're definitely gonna sack. You're gonna have so many triggers next turn. I think we're dead. Not super realistic for them to brick on Ranger Captain and 18 cards, I guess. Do think we're just playing out the blocker, and then we go block, block. We have 5 blockers. Block, block, block. Block. Yeah, we're not dead on board. But we are pretty dead if they hit like any human and they get a lot of looks at it. Can draw and rip a Coco. In theory, if I need an extra blocker. There's no way they can break with 20 looks. So like in theory, like they don't have that many humans, that they're mostly just on like Spyro, Ranger Captain, and Winota is a good creature. This is like, maybe they have Magus of the Moon also, but this is like, when I was building the deck, it's like, you could just play a good Boros deck, and then, oh yeah, I don't know, they also have, they're just gonna find another Ranger Captain for sure, though. Like, but you just don't need to play like these like terrible, like 7 mana humans, you know? Yeah. But like, yeah, the idea is that like Winota is just like a good card at the top of the curve. So very, very cool. I'm very interested what their list looks like. Don't they win if they pro red green? I had a white blocker, right? Here they did. Had the out. Yeah, Adeline was a card I kind of considered too. So let me, but I don't like that it's a token maker that makes human tokens. It's actually kind of awkward. Just trying to find some of the drafts I had. I feel like I had a really weird name that wasn't just. I had like a couple of starts here on the Winota, and this is like a pitch version, and then another pitch version. But I had versions like my opponents. Just can't remember what they were named. Let's see if my opponent's back yet. Is Resolute Reinforcements? Yeah, that card's 4 mana. Like Winota is like the power level 4 drop you can afford to play in Modern. Resolute's Reinforcements is not. Maybe it's these Boros Stoneblade decks. No. Oh, I remember. I remember. I had my mono white freeze spells. Yeah. I overwrote like some of these. So this is like, I think, close to a draft I had. I like that my opponent's playing more removal. They're playing Solitude and Fury. I was really liking Spellskite as a 2-drop that protects Winota and also triggers it on attack while protecting. I was also trying out a Shiv and Devastator as a Ranger Captain target. I think my opponent's build looks better. I like Lay Down Arms a lot there. Use Tyvar and Karn to bring Bridge may work. The problem was my opponent had Ranger Captain to stop me from casting Tyvar and Karn. I didn't just like not... I didn't just not cast my spells the turn prior. Or I did. I guess I didn't, but there was a reason I didn't. Okay, Gleeful Demolition, we go with Winota. I tried to build Gleeful Demolition with Winota. I had a really hard time with it, but that was a card that was on my radar as, like, you know, one of the best token generators in Modern. I do think I'm just supposed to jam the battlements. If you're playing with Coco, do you like it more or less than Court? I like it more. We haven't like almost not drawn it at all, but in my like playtesting, I've also liked it more. Just short of playing the Coco here. Yeah, I don't think you want to play Skrell's Hive. The card's really, really slow. It's like by turn 4, if you're casting Winota, you're only triggering it once with the Hive. Opponent kept keeping a 1-lander is good news for us, I guess. Alright, can I Karn and win here? I have 8 mana, and they're not quite. And this game should be... Dude, okay, I will say this. I do still prefer Coco, at least at the time of making this comment. But the amount of, like, 1-creature Cocos... I think we've cast Company, like, 4 times this league. And 2 of them we've only found 1 creature in our 28-creature deck, which is insulting. Sometimes you win anyways, though. Yoda, 12 months, thank you. Singing, the Druid Hazard may fit into Turbo Blood Moon Breach deck. Well, I think a lot of times people put the word turbo in deck ideas that haven't been thought out that much. I don't know what a turbo Blood Moon Breach deck looks like. In Boros especially, like, you don't have ramp. I don't know. The turbo is a funny word sometimes, but definitely a lot of potential with that card. Yeah, turbo aggro control. Okay, happy to have that. Eat the Lay Down Arms instead of the Battlement potentially, although they are playing a lot of removal. Get a Forest here since they may be on Magus of the Moon. That was a card that was in a lot of my drafts. Okay, Solitude pitched the Giver that they just tutored. 2 cards in their hand, no red mana. It'd be hard for them to Winota, and they would only have 1 creature that could trigger it anyways. I'm going to play my Axebane Guardian. Certainly have preferred for the Overgrown Battlements to go to the graveyard, so I can Tyvar it back, but such is life. Very surprised to see a red fetch land in what so far has been a mana base of all planes. Okay, getting hit for 5. Thankfully, there's not much that they can hit off this Ragavan that matters. Like, the best card they can hit is Wall of Omens. I actually have 2 of those already in my hand. They've already played their land, so they can't Karn. I would have liked to have access to that Karn, though. Getting 2 colors in walls here is nice, though. We just go untap. Wall. Okay. Passing back. Happy to have the Horizon Canopy to dig a little bit. Feeling like our walls are up here. Season Pyromancer, discard Ragavan, discard card. Okay, we'll see if they find Solitude white card off that first Season Pyromancer draw this time. They do not. They're thinking, so maybe they drew Ephemerate, maybe they drew Lay Down Arms, maybe they drew a Pitch Elemental plus an appropriate colored card. Yeah, Fury here deciding between killing Axebane and Tyvar is kind of interesting. Okay, although this is easy, easy line, Solitude this. And then they get to get 2 new cards with the Seasoned Pyromancer. I'm just gonna, I think, start off with a minus here. We hit a Caretaker, not obviously very impactful. Interesting. Alright, see if we find a Karn or Coco. Ding 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 ding. Opponent's probably like hella cold to Ensnaring Bridge. They also have the Ranger Captain too. I guess I could have just put the Staff into play also. I think we're fine. I think we're fine. I can even just like get a big Ballista if my opponent does sack the Ranger Captain. My opponent can trigger Winota this turn, potentially, but I think that's going to be fine. Yeah, maybe they have Lauren. That could be a card in their deck. I had it in my sideboard. Still likely beatable. Could you have played second Tyvar off Caretaker and then Battlement? I didn't have a non-summoning sick Caretaker. Quite the match. Quite the match. You have Tyvar though. I have a Tyvar that I use. I don't think that I had the black mana to play the Tyvar that turn, but if I did, I misplayed. Like I minus this other Tyvar. And when I drew the Karn, I had only green mana floating. I don't know what I'm missing. Oh, the Caretaker had haste from the Tyvar that's in play. Duh. Obviously. It's so dumb. What am I even saying? Okay, yeah, so we could have won that turn. Okay, so they have 2 Ranger Captains, so this Tyvar is not getting cast anytime soon. That being said, we can Ballista for a lot. Yeah, should be better than Cityscape Leveler. Yeah, I think I actually just kill their Ranger Captain, and then I kill their Giver, and I kill all their 1 power creatures, and then nothing can attack. I remember when my opponent had a board state. Let's get Fury or Solitude. Probably kill Tyvar and kill Ballista. You have the backup Tyvar. Well, I guess they do now have a creature that triggers Winota, but one kind of nice thing about this board state was, until now, my opponent didn't have any non-human creatures to like trigger Winota immediately, but now they have 1. But you know they're trying to draw an answer to Bridge before I can kill them with Walking Bulwark, which will be a lot of clicks when it happens. Just another Overgrown Battlement, and a pass back. Excited to get the Giganta into the deck. So no Haywire Mite mana if they do have a Haywire Mite. Yeah, they just grab a Ragavan, cast a Ragavan. I wonder if they'll sack their Ranger Captain now. Why not get Ballista? They wouldn't get Ballista. Oh, why? If I get Ballista with Tyvar, it just dies immediately. This goes to the battlefield, not play. Or not to hand. Just dies. I think I'm just not super interested in Fetch Shocking here. Yeah, Tyvar would be much worse if it went to hand. What do you do for cool stuff? Yeah, I just shout them out. That's about it. They unlike most Magic sponsors are just sponsoring the stream. They're just sponsoring the stream, which is awesome. No writing contract. It's just easy peasy. I feel valued. It's really nice. And you can show your thanks to them for sponsoring the stream by using code SPIKE for 5% off. Yeah, I forgot that this deck passed the Giganta check when I was working on it. Because we had Court of Call and we cut it. So we're going to have Giganta for the next league. Alright, passing it back. Maybe getting... Maybe fetching to thin makes sense. They do have Lightning Bolt in the deck. Like 3 Lightning Bolts, theoretically. Okay, well. Now the game's over. I think. Well, maybe not. Math is for blockers, and I'm playing walls. Math is for blockers, and I'm playing walls. Does that mean math is for me? No, I'm attacking, of course. I don't think I'm attacking with my... I guess I can attack with this Overgrown Battlement. Feels weird, though. Alright, figure it out, opponent. Also, always very funny to attack for like 20-something power with with an Ensnaring Bridge and no cards in hand. with a bunch of walls. Is attacking that good against 2 Furies plus Giver? I don't know. Probably one of the Furies will. I guess it doesn't have to die. You're gonna lose a lot of creatures here. I think. Maybe just 2. Yeah, one of the Furies. Well, yeah, I guess they're losing a Fury with this block. Attack with Oath feels wrong. Otherwise, seems good. Yeah, I just not gonna think about it too much. They should put Winota probably here on this Wall of Omens, right? So what are they? They're protecting a Fury. They lose a Fury. They lose both Spyros, which they can get tokens back. They lose both of these, and they take 8 down to 7. Yeah, oh yeah, sorry, Winota lives. Sorry, obviously Winota dies if they don't block like that. Weird board state. Should have switched Ragavan and Pyromancer? Maybe, yeah. Although maybe they want their Spyros to die, right? So they can make tokens. We need to build up a little bit again before we make another attack. Tyvar not too bad at rebuilding. It's close, right? Between sending with these. I basically just lose a Wall of Omens. Right, the Seasoned Pyromancer. Yeah, with the second Seasoned Pyromancer. Probably not actually a good attack. Oops. Also, having 5 defenders in play so we can Karn combo is relevant. What a game, what a match, what a league. Has Tyvar been actively good at anything else in this? Feels like it's underwhelming. Yeah, we've had success with a lot of different Tyvar decks this season. We just trophied last week with Fauna Shaman and Tyvar, we did really well. I think the Devoted Druid Shells were good. We had Tyvar and Goblins that felt alright. This deck is good. I feel like there was one other big Tyvar deck. I've really liked Tyvar a lot. I think Tyvar has been great. Tyvar, I think, has been one of, if not the most, the card I've liked the most from all Obi-Wan. Elves, obviously, yeah, we trophied with Tyvar and Elves also. Didn't play very much of it, but did well with it this season. Is there a 1-mana creature in red or white that can kill artifacts? There's the Gorilla Shaman. Ingature doesn't count because they're asking as far as like Ranger, Captain, Tutor targets go. Okay, come on. Coco, Karn, something. Alright. So we no longer have our combo available, and our Ballista is gone. I kind of like the idea of Stonebraining Lauren. Lauren is like definitely their out, right? Oh, whoops. Did not mean to click on that. Tormod script myself. I can do that after I get rid of the Laurens. This is maybe the first ever Stonebrain for Lauren in Modern, by the way. You're seeing it live for the first time. Lauren of the Third Path named with Stonebrain. And they don't have it. It's not there. I definitely had it in all of my drafts. They also have no outs to the bridge. Straight up, no outs to the bridge besides me decking myself. Which I think means I'm gonna win. Yeah, Ballista. My Ballista's in the yard, so I can eventually get it by crypting myself. The other win con is making a big board, or infinite comboing, making a lot of creatures, and then Bulwark getting through. Can you ask me a question about Pioneer? Sure. But I do have 2 Karns left, so we should be good. The Exile Karn with Ragavan? Oh, yeah, you're right. We only have 1 Karn. That actually makes it a lot harder. It'd be a cool game to lose. Okay. Game's lagging a bit. 1 card in their hand. So we draw. Karn. I have to play it, right? I have to play it. Do I have another Bulwark in the deck? Because if I don't have another Bulwark, then I can't ever win via creature combat. So I have 2 Bulwarks in exile, 1 in the graveyard. I didn't slide 1 out, so there should still be 1 in the deck, which means that I'm just going to put Staff of Domination into play. And then if I can infinite combo, which may not, it should be possible, then I can eventually draw the Bulwark, make infinite mana, tap my opponent's team, and then attack for lethal. Get Crypt Ballista back. So the problem with that is if I answer the Karn, I just lose. This plays around them answering Karn. Deck tech for Pocket Beers. If you post a link in the chat, I'd be happy to take a look. Now I can get the Tormod script if I want. I can also get a Bulwark, but I don't need to since I still have 1 in the deck. Yeah, so I think at this point I just crypt. Could Stonebrain Fury? Yeah. Ephemerate. They have no Furies left. I would Stonebrain Ephemerate. Yeah, they still have Ephemerate to answer Karn, right? Yeah, but if they do have no answers to Karn left, it doesn't matter. The Karn will win the game eventually. It's not like we need to like Karn crypt for Ballista first. Do we have Tyvars left? I think we may be out of Tyvars. No, we have one left. Why Crypt? I need to Crypt so I can exile my Ballista so I can tutor it back with Karn. Oh, deck them with Stonebrain. Yeah, that's also a play. A play I've never made before. What did they name with this? Yo, I think we 3-2 every single league with walls, which, you know, 60% run rate's not bad, but I'm dying for a wall trophy. 3. I suppose I don't want to draw cards, actually. Game is also lagging really badly. Can I Ballista on 5 next turn also? I have 6, 7, 8, 9. No. Not quite. I don't think I've had the game lag this bad in a very long time. They're fetching. Okay, now they're dead, right? They don't do anything. Because I do have 8 mana. Excited for this game to be over and done with. I don't know that I cannot remember the last time I had to Karn, exile my Ballista with Crypt, get Crypt back. Everyone says GG. Long game, wild game. Another walls 3-2. I do think I'm gonna pivot back to the bridge tech. I think it's very close. Between being on Force of Vigors and being on bridges, but it's like if the